Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our look at Nemesis the Warlock, the 7-issue Necro series published by Eagle Comics in 1984 and 1985. Let's get cracking. Number 4, another beautiful original O'Neill cover, made just for the American edition. But unfortunately, he does not draw this issue. These are stories drawn by Jesus Redondo, who's a really great artist, but he's no Kevin O'Neill. And I mean that just in the sense that when it comes to Nemesis the Warlock, I want Kevin O'Neill drawing it. He's just the only one weird enough to draw Nemesis correctly. As you can see, he's a really good artist. Good stuff. So we start off in a jail cell on Termite. This is the one alien who didn't escape when Nemesis freed all of the alien prisoners. And he's telling a story to the scullery maid who's cleaning up his cell. I guess he's been around for a long time. He knows everything. And he's basically telling her the origin of Torquemada. So in this future, just like in our world, there was a children's crusade. And they riled up all these kids with religious fervor to go kill all the aliens. Not in the original Children's Crusade. That was against the Muslims. But in this world, they get all these kids to go off in these galleons, space galleons. But just like in our world, it was all a scam. They sold the children into slavery, to aliens no less. And of course, Torquemada is one of them. He's this little blonde kid. Or redheaded kid. And so he's sold into slavery, and he's a slave of the Nagas, these alien-looking creatures. Their guard dogs are these things called manticores. So one day he finally escapes after years, and this manticore attacks him. He fights it off, and we can see, even at a young age, Torquemada was incredibly formidable. He makes his way back to Termite, and he confronts the guy who sold him into slavery. This guy's kind of nonchalant about it. He's like, hey, settle down. You know, everyone's got to make a buck. Listen, I'll give you some of this treasure we stole from aliens. Maybe that'll make things good between us. And Torquemada lies and says, yeah, give me some of those diamonds. And when the guy pokes his head in the chest, he slams the chest lid on his head. It looks like he beheads him. Now we see it's the present day. And we see this guy, Brother Rodrigo. And he's like Michelangelo. He's painting this huge mural on the ceiling of the Hall of the Vestal Vampires. And he's very pleased with himself at how he captured Torquemada's visage. And then all of a sudden, the painting of Torquemada starts talking to him. And he says, my spirit is fast reaching the point of oblivion. You must tell the Vestal Vampires to prepare the exocyst. Basically, he needs nourishment or his soul will be obliterated forever. The painter, Rodrigo, doesn't believe him. He says, I must be dreaming. It's like, you're dead. This is crazy. I must have inhaled too many paint fumes. And he doesn't do anything. So then Torquemada tries a different tact. This is one of the Vestal Vampires. They are basically like battle maidens who exhort the troops into combat. Torquemada appears to this Vestal Vampire in a puddle and asks for her assistance. She believes him, and she informs her superiors, and they perform the exocyst. Basically, one of the Vestal Vampires sacrifices her body, and so Torquemada can live. So then we go back to Brother Rodrigo, and he's done for the day. But then all of a sudden, the thing he's been resting on, high above the chamber floor, falls, and he falls to his death. And when the Vestal vampires come in, they look up at the ceiling and they're like, that's odd. How do I remember that painting of Torquemada smiling before? So this is almost like a little House of Mystery type story within Nemesis the Warlock. So now we see in the alien planets, the Cabal, which is like the UN for aliens, they've been fighting back the humans. Without Torquemada as their head, Termite has fallen on hard times. And on land, at sea, in the air, the aliens are pushing the humans back from all of their empire. So we just get to see a lot of nice battle scenes. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like he predicted Joust. Because we see these knights with lances writing hippogriffs through the sky and fighting the earthlings on their fire drakes. We see Purity Brown again. She's helping out the aliens. And Nemesis is leading them. He's the general of all the troops. So Purity Brown, even though she's totally against Torquemada, but she wants to make peace with Earth. She hopes that Earthlings can be redeemed. And even though she knows that they're the bad guys. So all of these captured Earth soldiers, they're going to be taken to the prison planet of Arachnos. And the prison ships arise. And the jailers emerge. And they're these very scary-looking tarantula aliens. And the Earthlings are scared as hell. They're like, Torquemada, save us. They think they're going to be eaten or something. So they lead the humans into the prison ships. And Nemesis gets in his blitz spear and accompanies them to the planet, the prison planet. It turns out the spiders, at least the dominant spiders on this planet, are totally civilized. They don't eat humans. They have fly farms. They eat flies. There are some wild spiders, though, in the jungle that'll eat anything. And so all the humans are given their prison uniforms. And the leader of the jailers tells Nemesis, I'm sorry, his name's Zelotes. Zelotes shows Nemesis and Purity the prison planet. And he says sooner or later, most of them adapt to their new life. And it's kind of looks like a paradise. And they lose their hatred for aliens. Especially the young ones who grew up there. They don't get it. They don't get this hatred of the other. So basically, there's going to be a meeting of the Cabal. And they're going to vote for if they should have total war on Earth or make peace with them. And Zelotes is planning on going and basically speaking out for peace. Because he knows that humans can be redeemed. And they can lose their hatred. Meanwhile, Torquemada, he knows about what's going on. I'll get back to him in a second. So not all the humans are happy to be in this prison planet. Some of them retain their hatred. And this one in particular, Brother Baruda, he was a tormentor. And he's disgusted at how these young humans, the children, have no fear of the aliens and actually, don't hate them. So there's a bunch of other like-minded fellows there, and they try to escape this holding pen. Man, look how good Jesus Hernandez is really good. Kind of reminds me of Jose Ortiz. And so they escape and they run into the jungle. Some of them are captured by wild spiders. Some of them are captured by the jailers. And pretty soon there's just two of them left. The spirit of Torquemada appears before them and says, I could sense your hatred. You guys are true tormentors. You're worthy of my name. And he says, you must get to the spaceport. You have to go through the fly pens, the fly farms. So they do. And unfortunately, Beluga's companion, he gets sucked up by the fly harvester and turned into mulch. But he makes it to the spaceport, all the way fighting spiders, fighting these jailers. And Torquemada tells him that he must get on, stowaway on a certain star cruiser. Apparently, it's the star cruiser of Zelotes and his wife. His wife is going to accompany him to the General Assembly of the Cabal. Oh, that Torquemada. What a bastard. Number 5. God, look at this crazy cover. Kevin O'Neill's back. At least in the second half of the issue. And he's always been there on the covers. God, just look how repulsive that is. No wonder the Comics Code banned him. Just for the way he draws. That looks obscene. Even though he's not showing any naughty bits. It just looks wrong. So here we have a little splash page. Still Jesus Redondo art. And of course, I didn't mention this, but it goes without saying, Pat Mills continues to write all of these. So Zelotes bids farewell to his people. He says, I'll let everyone know that humans can be cured of their hatred of aliens. So on the ship, Baruda kills the crew and then grabs Zelotes' wife and says, follow this course or I'll kill your wife. So they go to Torquemada's ship. And Zelotes and his wife fight bravely, but they're subdued. So basically they kill Zelotes and Torquemada enters his body. So he's going to be his meat puppet. They let the wife live for a little just so they can test out how authentically he duplicates or he pretends to be Zelotes. She thinks it's him. And once they realize that his disguise is convincing, they throw her out of an airlock. So we see Nemesis and Purity heading to the Cabal meeting. And Nemesis debriefs everyone on how the war is going, how well it's going. Apparently, the Terminators have been defeated everywhere, except for Termite. And basically, they bring in the Star Witness, Zelotes, but of course we know it's not Zelotes. He has chained up Baruda to show how savage these humans are and irredeemable they are. And he basically tells them that, no, guys, the humans cannot be cured of hatred. We have to, basically the only solution is to kill them all. Of course, most of the aliens want to hear that. And they're like, yes, war. War on Termite. And because of this, Nemesis steps down as the leader of the armies. And they vote in Zelotes, not realizing it's Torquemada. Meanwhile, Purity goes to visit Baruda in his jail cell. And she figures it out. She says, wait, why would he bring you in chains? He would have spun a web around you, like the arachnist people do. And he breaks his chains, which were probably fake in the first place, kills the guards, and then faces off against Purity. Meanwhile, we see that Torquemada is using his new form to get all the secrets of the Cabal so he can crush them. And then Nemesis comes back and he says, I figured it out. I sensed an evil. I know you're really Torquemada. And they start to fight. We cut back to Purity and Baruda fighting in the jail cell. It's a pretty nice action. And then we cut back to the other battle. But this time, Nemesis is going to put up with Torquemada jumping into other bodies every time he defeats him. So he brings this thing called the Ambar Stone. It will suck your spirit out and seal it within its nucleus forever. No escape for you. And we see it sucking out Torquemada's spirit. But then Baruda shows up, and he's got Purity as a hostage. And it distracts him long enough that Torquemada, he breaks the spell. And then Baruda attacks Nemesis. They have a fight. And during the melee, Torquemada grabs Purity, wraps her up in webbing. And he's going to kill her. So Torquemada escapes once again. God, look at that. So repulsive. And later at the meeting, everyone agrees that, yep, I guess we just have to go to war with Termite. So at the end of the story, Nemesis tells Purity that he's going to his home planet to see his family. So now we get to see a little bit of Nemesis's home life. And he's back at his home planet, relaxing, playing this weird instrument. I love this, how he's wearing a cloak. It's like a human hide cloak. You even see faces in it. The skin of ripped off faces. And Grabendonk, his familiar, is still hanging around. And he says, come on, we're late for the combat. And so we see this joust, basically. It's Chira. They're the defender. And Magna is the challenger. And both of them are determined to win the prize, which they don't tell us what it is yet. Look at these character designs. Oh, I forgot to mention, Kevin O'Neill's back for this story. You could probably tell already. But man, that's just craziness. So the ritual combat begins. And they're fighting tooth and nail. And it looks like Magna is the younger of the two and stronger. They're getting the upper hand. It looks like Kyra doesn't have a chance. And Kyra's wounded. But at the last minute, Kyra pushes Magna off this cliff. So Kyra wins the battle, and they take off their helmet. And as they do that, they say, yes, Magna is defeated, so you too. So you still belong to me, husband. So Kira is Nemesis's wife. I guess Nemesis will stay wedded to Kira until another female warlock fights for him and wins. For in the race of warlocks, the female of the species is deadlier than the male. Now we cut away to Warlock Ashtar. And he's this over-the-hill warlock. He can't even do magic anymore. And his castle is completely dilapidated. He doesn't have the magic to fix it, and he doesn't have the money to hire people to fix it. So he's not doing too good. He's kind of a sad sack. He's walking through his castle, and we see just how crappy it is. This is from a feast like 10 years ago. He hasn't cleaned up yet. There's actually like dead guests at the dinner table. I don't know how that happened. Nobody took him to bury him or anything. So he goes into his daughter's bedchambers. It turns out it's Magna, the Challenger. And he's trying to convince her to stop with this Nemesis nonsense. Nemesis isn't rich. All he wants to do is fight Earthlings, fight termite. To marry some guy who's rich. And she knows her dad's scores. She's like, yeah, you just want a nice dowry so you can fix your castle. But no, I'm in love with Nemesis. I'm going to have him by hook or by crook. And after the father leaves, she basically says, I'll have to deal with Kyra. And there's one way I can get rid of her forever. And she's got this like crystal ball with Torquemada's face in it. That does not look good. Oh God, look at this cover. I bet this cover sold like shit. I'm sure so many kids picked this up and were like, I don't want this. But it's fucking brilliant. The hatching. We'll find out who this little critter is later. Nice little splash page. And now we're back to all Kevin O'Neill art, thank God. So I guess Nemesis is planning on leaving, re-entering the fray in the war on termite. But Kira reminds him, she says, tomorrow's the hatching. And I guess the warlocks, they give birth by making an egg. And then they have a big ceremony when the egg is hatched. And, it's a big to-do. They invite all these important warlocks from all over the planet. I love this how, not only has O'Neill made this amazing, crazy design for Nemesis, he could have just duplicated that design for all these guys. But he makes all of them unique and equally bizarre. So great. His visual imagination is off the scale. So I guess for a hatching, the parents gather around the egg and use their dragon fire and heat it up and incubate it. And then the little critter from the cover pops out. Their dear little homunculus. They name him Thoth. And then Great Uncle Ball shows up. And he's like, how come you didn't invite me to the hatching? And he totally kind of takes over the party. He's just being a big pest. And he brings these human skeletons that are animated. And he brings them to be entertainment. They all dance like an old Fleischer Brothers cartoon. God, he draws these skeletons so great. It looks like his art is just improving every issue. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Remember I said in the first issue, it was reformatted by Kevin O'Neill. And you can obviously tell these later issues, I forgot to mention it, they're just shrunken down 2000 AD pages. Because 2000 AD pages are way bigger than your average comic. They're almost magazine size. So you can tell because the word balloons are very tiny. The words are very tiny. And Kyra's very annoyed. And Ball spikes the punch. The whole party becomes chaos and pandemonium. And then after the party, Kira's chewing out Nemesis. He's like, God, he ruined the party. But she starts crying as she's holding her baby. She says, I had the strangest feeling while I was watching the skeleton dance that I would soon join them in death. She has some kind of premonition. So Nemesis takes off. He's got to get back to the war. Look at that thing. This is repulsive. Meanwhile, back on Termite, Torquemada is ordering the head of his assassins, Sir Hargan. He's giving him a special assignment. And what that is basically he wants Hargan to travel to Nemesis's planet and kill the wife and child. So meanwhile, Torquemada takes a little side trip to the where the scribes are making the bestiaries. God, this art is so nice. This is what I was talking about earlier. Like, look at this now. Like, Torquemada, this isn't a helmet anymore. Like, what's going on here? There's like worms coming out of his mouth plate, his mouth hole. So it's almost like he's like the biggest proponent of exterminating every alien who's not pure and human. But he's more monstrous and inhuman than any alien we've seen. So it's weird that he's giving orders to all these humans to kill aliens, but he looks weirder than any of them. God, this art is so nice. There's a drawing of the female of this warlock species and a homunculus. So now we cut away to the planet Demotica, and we see Yggdrasil Castle. It's the great castle of the basilisks. That's the aliens on this planet. And it's under siege by termite. It's been blockaded for like a year, and they're throwing projectiles at the castle, and they're laying siege. We see the pandemoniums again, rousing the soldiers to war. And they have these siege machines, which are basically old robots. So apparently, even though there's great technology in this world that termite has, they lost the art of robotics. So they have all these old decaying robots that are kind of malfunctioning, and they don't know how to fix their brains at all. So we're going to see a lot of crazy robots. And this one used to be a fire engine, a fire truck, but now, of course, it's been retrofitted to be a fire-making truck. So it lights things on fire. His name's Dennis, by the way, which I'm sure Kevin O'Neill just put that in to be funny. But here's their big siege machine. And turns out this is Mechquake from the Roadbusters comic. So this was one of the early attempts of Pat Mills to unify all of these random 2000 AD series into a cohesive universe. This is his catchphrase. He loves to yell out, "Big jobs!" We have a nice little pinup of the siege of Yggdrasil Castle here. Look at that great early 80s lettering. It's pretty nice. And now we're back to the story. And so I guess all the soldiers are in the head of Mechquake. And because he's defective, he opens the ramp too soon because they were planning on jumping out right into the castle parapets. But he opens it too soon, so they all red out and plummet to their deaths. And then he continues to stomp on them. He's just he's a moron. He's a really dumb robot. Now we see that we meet Brother Hieronymus, who is the chief robotics officer, basically. He's in charge of the siege machines. And he's talking to the commander of the siege, Sir Everick. And Everick is dressing him down. He's like, "These robots are totally fucking up." And Hieronymus informs him that, it's like, "Yeah, we lost this knowledge. We don't know how to fix their brains. We have these old blueprints, but we don't really know how to read them. Sorry." And Mechquake is just still destroying stuff. So then Nemesis shows up. He breaks through the blockade and talks to the basilisks. And I guess this giant tree that was their castle, it nurtured the basilisks, it housed them, it fed them, but the tree is dying. Its sap is drying up. So everyone is starving in this tree castle. And of course, they're being bombarded by projectiles, and it's just not looking good for the basilisks. And then they another assault from the siege engines. And basically the basilisks lose all hope, and they go to this inner chamber. I guess they have this like this statue of a great hero of old. It's almost like a religious icon, and they're basically just on their knees praying to it for salvation. And Nemesis basically says, "Enough of this shit," and he rouses them up. And he's like, "Death to the humans," and it works. And so all the basilisks are re-energized to fight the humans. We see Nemesis leading the charge, kicking major ass. I like this, how he's just dancing on the spears. So on the Earth, the termite side, the Vestal vampires are urging the men on to battle. Look at this guy. What is he wearing? It almost looks like one of those banana costumes. But the basilisks repel the invaders. So then they send in the siege machines again. I like this one. He used to be a crane, but now he can hurl projectiles. He's like a catapult. And there's Fire Razor. That's what they call him now, because he spreads fires. Whenever he hears the bells of a fire alarm now, it turns him into a pyromaniac. But there's one special machine that they built, and it's the Torque Armada. That's pretty clever. And it's basically this giant robot in the shape of Torque Armada. And he says his catchphrase, "Be pure, be vigilant, behave." And it looks like it's going to be the end of the basilisks. Oh, look at this nice pin up here. Put this up on your wall. Such a great design. I love this. His feet are galleon ships full of all the earthlings. And we see little earthlings poking out of everywhere, shooting off cannons. That's great. This one doesn't have as much humor. This one's pretty much straight ahead action. Of course, he always sticks in a panel here or there of Grobendong saying something funny, or he can't help himself. And so Nemesis decides to use his magic. And with a spell, he summons this great wind, which kicks up all of this dust. And in the confusion, Torque Armada accidentally bumps into Mechquake. And Mechquake lashes out angrily because he's basically like a drunken idiot all the time. He's like, "You no good trash robot. You not mess with Mechquake. Now me smash and rip." And one of the Earthlings says, "The siege machines are out of control." And now we have number 7, the last issue. Another great cover. God. Torque Armada is a fucking monster. And we continue from where we left off. Torque Armada is fighting Mechquake. Man, this is some epic shit. It's still kind of funny, though. So the other siege engines, they're on Mechquake's side. I guess they've known him longer. And the Fire Razor lights Torque Armada on fire. And all the humans within him are roasted. And he falls to the ground. Broken. Of course, Mechquake yells out in triumph, "Big jobs, big jobs." God, this page is particularly nice. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe the colors are finally getting better. Has some nice color. So unfortunately, even though they've won against the humans, this plague is running rampant through the castle, the tree castle. And it's petrifying these creatures because they're kind of half tree and turning them into stone. Meanwhile, we see Everic and Hieronymus. And once again, they're arguing. And Everic is all like, yeah, your goddamn robots fucked everything up. And then it turns out that Lord Everic's son is there. He kind of looks like this little punk hippie kid. And he's saying, Father, I don't understand. Maybe all aliens aren't bad. Why do we have to kill them all? And he's like, shut your mouth. The Inquisitors have burned men for less. But he's like, when I look in the bestiary, sure, these aliens look strange, but that doesn't make them evil. And it just gives Kevin O'Neill an excuse to draw another insanely bizarro creature. Look at this thing. That's like so Basil Wolverton. God, the art's even getting better. Look at that panel there. It's weird. It kind of reminds me of Don Lomax if he was better. And the father's like, I can't deal with this now. I'm sick from alien fever. I'm totally losing this battle. We'll talk about this another time. So Nemesis goes to this Vestal vampire that they captured. And he probes her mind to find information about Lord Everic so we can use it against him. We get another nice Nemesis pinup. Remember the words of Torquemada, sleep is no refuge for impure thoughts. Oh man, look at this page here, this spread. It's Lord Everic. He's in bed having nightmares. He's got bed sheets are alien hide. We see like faces in them. We see this Torquemada shrine. Whatever this is, just this mural. Am I pure? Look at this beautiful illustration here. We see an alien skin rug. And I don't know what the fuck this is. Look at this chair. It's like this fleshy chair with a giant mouth and a tongue coming out of it. And I don't know if that's supposed to be a sphincter or not, but it could be. Kevin O'Neill's crazy. Look at all this nuttiness he draws into this page. There's another alien hide rug. And so Nemesis wakes him up. And he basically bargains with him. He's basically like the devil. He says, I'll grant you 3 wishes if you retreat. And the guy's like, I can't do that. Torquemada would kill me. And he realizes, he's like, you're afraid of Torquemada, aren't you? And Everic totally opens up. He's almost crying. He's just like, you don't know what it's like. Torquemada's terrible. I just don't have the guts to, fight back. He says, I wish I wasn't so old and tired. And so Nemesis offers him money, all the money he could use, because I guess Torquemada is making him pay for the siege out of his own fortune. He offers him bravery so he can fight back against Torquemada. And then the third wish, which he'll bequeath him later, he'll give him his youth back, his youth and his health. And Everic agrees. So Nemesis gives him the gold. He gives him bravery. And he says, when the job's done, I'll give you your youth and beauty back. Because I guess he was a handsome young chap. And as he's leaving, he tells Grobenduk, he says, Sir Everic's troubles are only just beginning. So as they're kind of heading out, they have Mechjaw destroy all the other siege engines so the Basilisks can't use them. Did I say Mechquake? And he remembers the Robusters, Rowjaws and Hammerstein. And I guess he did not like them. And he's still pissed off about Rowjaws, the little one. So he kind of puts the head back on the Torquemada robot the Torque Armada, and he questions him. He says, do you know anything about this Rojaws character? He's like, I think I met him on a planet once, but I can't remember the name. So he's like, you're no good to me. He destroys him. And then he makes a vow. He says, sooner or later, I'm going to meet up with those two. And I'm going to get them. So Everett is not wavering. Hieronymus is like, we can't go back. What are you going to tell Torquemada? He's going to kill you. He's like, I don't care. We're out of here. The siege is done. And back on Termite, Hieronymus talks to Torquemada first. Look at Torquemada now. He's completely inhuman. And he tells Torquemada that something very strange happened to Everett on the journey back. He's changed. And Everett comes in and look at him. This has got to be one of Kevin O'Neill's fucking weirdest designs ever. I guess he's, Nemesis tricked him. He turned him into a Cotoblepus, a young Cotoblepus, and according to their standards of beauty, he's quite a handsome figure. So he kind of kept up his end of the bargain, but he tricked him. But Everett also has his bravery. So he's totally just telling off Torquemada. He's like, fuck you. You're full of shit. Look at this. More Wolverton shit. And then they drag him away. And they put him in a pillory, a mobile pillory, so he can be paraded through the streets and mocked by the citizens. But just by coincidence, Brother Gogol is in the pillory right in front of him. The Mandrake we met 4 issues ago. So now Nemesis heads back to his home planet after the victory. And he doesn't know it, but the assassins are there already. And they attack Kyra. And Kyra breaks through the net they throw on her. And she grabs her baby and she hides it. She's pretty sure she's not going to win this fight. Before she leaves him, though, she transfers mystic force into him. An immense amount of power. And then she confronts the assassins and tries to lead them away from the baby. And it's a fucking quite a fight. Because she is like this amazing warrior. And these guys are like the best assassins from Termite. There's another repulsive Terminator. Kind of looks like there's maggots on his face. This is some nice action. Look at this breakdown here. I love this panel of little Thoth. He's so wretched and but cute. He's all worried about his mom. And finally, though, she can't fight all these guys. And they keep wounding her. Getting the best of her. And finally, Hagrin, whatever his name is, the leader, he kills Kira. There's only 2 of them left. Kira took out most of them. But the leader's underling, he's going to take the ring off of her finger as proof that they killed her. And he steps into the puddle of blood that she left behind, and it's like acid. I love this. He just totally melts into this puddle of blood. And so Sir Harrigan is the only one left now. And Harrigan is like, I got to find that brat and kill it. We see more. That just cracks me up. So Thoth crawls out of his hiding space. And Harrigan finds him. And Harrigan lifts him up. God, look at that panel. The way he draws the sky there. That's amazing. Thoth did not yet understand the mystic powers his mother had bequeathed him. He only knew he had to survive. And all of a sudden, Hargan says, wait, it's a human baby. A beautiful human baby. Which I'm chuckling because that is not a beautiful human baby. That's repulsive. It reminds me of Boochie Boy from Devo. It's so weirdly cutesy disgusting. So Thoth pours his thoughts into Hargan's mind. Take me home, feed me, look after me. And it works. He's like, oh, I'll take you home, you cute little baby. So he comes back to Termite. He tells Torquemada that he killed Kira, and he lies about the homunculus baby. He says he killed him too. And so he returns to his apartment, and he's got Thoth in his hidden in his cloak. And his wife's there. I guess they could never have children. So he says, look, honey, this will finally make our wedded bliss complete. And she says, a baby. And for a second, she sees it as it really is. And she's like, what? But then Thoth uses his magic on her. And she says, I must have been blind. It's lovely. And so they're left happily ever after. But basically, Thoth is like a cuckoo. He's going to use these humans until he was ready to use his powers. And then all humans would suffer. And that's how the miniseries ends. Kind of weird. It doesn't end on this huge climax. This is another reason why I really want those big, nice omnibus editions, so I can read the whole story. And as a send-off, we have this nice pinup of Torquemada. God, it's just so repulsive. Kevin O'Neill, man. Ay, so great, though. So there you have it, guys. Nemesis the Warlock, number 4 through 7. Hope you guys enjoyed looking at these. I had a great time rereading these for the first time in a while. And I do have to say, like, reading these 2000 AD comics a year or two ago, I read like a ton of Judge Dredd. And I was kind of just almost angry and jealous that I didn't grow up in England, where the mainstream comics for 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds were this good. And in America, we had what? The Flash, written by Cary Bates and art by Don Heck or Jose Delbo, or like supervillain team up with like just crappily written. I mean, sure, there were some gems in there, but for the most part, these 2000 AD comics are so much better as far as they're just full of great satire, amazing art, really funny humor. And there was no humor in American comics. They were just humorless. And this has it all. This has amazing action, engrossing, multi-part stories that are like better than any epic movie you've ever seen. But they're funny, and they sneak in all this subversion, and the art's just insane. I mean, here's a perfect example. Kevin O'Neill, heard the siren call of America after, Brian Bolland and Dave Gibbons went over and all the writers. And he didn't have much of a career at Marvel and DC. His art was too weird. They didn't know what to do with them. And so he didn't make much of a splash at all in America because, our mainstream is very mainstream. But in 2000 AD, which was the number one selling comic in England, the readers would accept kind of cool, crazy stuff like this. So there you go. I'm still bitter about the whole thing. But I guess that's it for today's video. And I hope to see you here next time at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.